It's like a fact, you know, how much you can begin to accept. And then that becomes a part of your life. And that you're actually writing the entire projection once you take the wheel of it. And it's just right now, we haven't been doing that. So it seems like, you know, it just kind of seems like some of these things are far-fetched. But like in the lucid dream, for instance, in this field, you're calling up and you're creating whatever you want. And if you can do this every night, you can imagine how that starts to wear on you as you keep coming back to the world every day, where you don't do that. You start seeing things bleed over. Actually, you learn how the dream can control this reality. Your dream body is 7 times stronger than your body that's in this reality. So when you start working with the dream, you can actually get things to bleed over from the dream into this reality. And then because the dream is more superior from a time level, you can actually see tomorrow from the dream. So the dream starts to become the control point. And when you start creating in the dream, you realize that this is the same thing that's going to happen when you die, except for this time you're not going to wake back up into a reality. You're going to stay in that field where you can call up everything. So I do feel like personally, one of the big goals in life, and people start doing this a lot when they get older. It's like you start lucid dreaming naturally, but you just don't realize that you're doing that. Especially as the body starts letting go more. The body is we call it Lord Governor. It has like a symbol of a pentagram, and it holds in or cages or closes your chakras so that they don't, you know, because if they go high, I mean, if this stuff turns all the way on, there's no more of you. You evaporate in this whole thing. And so there's a container, if you may, that you're put into. And people saw that also as a governor, because you can see that it's kind of like still restricting and confining an energy, right? And so in this process, you know, you basically begin to learn how to come outside of this shell. Which is what our ancestors were doing, how to venture out of this. And Earth is key and instrumental to you now when you're able to project your own reality, to actually being able to determine what you want to project. So you want a chair, you get a chair. If you want it all made of fur, it's all made of fur. If you want to fly with these eagles, you fly. Now you even know what flying is. There's so many little different micro pieces of awareness inside of this reality. If you can take that back to your own treasure house, which is your imagination or lucid dreaming, you can then build everything there. So that's why, you know, people thought that they couldn't leave here with anything. It's just not in the way that we think. You do leave here with everything, because you can call all of that back up right from what people think is the dream when you get into the other space. So that answers your question. And so what is the goal in life? The goal in life is to live lucid. Is to actually are the magic that you're ignoring, and everybody has it. Like there's generally not one person that doesn't dream. Now, whether you can remember it and you have control over it, those are another matters, but it shows you already you have the projector and you have the eye. That's why they run around with this eye all the time. That's the eye they're referring to, is this one that allows you to be able to peer into the lenses of life. And, you know, you time travel, you go all up into other people's mind. You could talk to people that are dead. You could do all sorts of stuff. Like I can amass thousands of years worth of knowledge from books that are not even written in languages we've ever seen before, all in within 30 minutes, and come up out of the sleep like,
oh my God.
Then the weird part is, here's the weird part, because that sounds all fine and dandy, but when you come over here, there's this crossover of the data. That's the easiest way to put it. And the richness of the code being used in the spaces that you're going in the dream is so strong that when it tries to pass through this pipeline of this world, it gets lost like a filter, and that it gets like filtered out. And that's why most people forget their dreams, because it's like it's in a different language, it's in a different code. Now, once you realize that, you can start working on how to bring your dreams over into this reality through other mediums like water. Water has this ability to, like, if you put a cup of water on the side of your bed, especially if it's like spring water, something that is a little mineralized, you go to sleep And then when you wake up in the morning, you drink that water and you keep doing that consistently, you'll notice that you'll have more dream recollection and dream retention. Because when you're asleep, all of this stuff unpacks. Like I've had the opportunity to actually see it a couple times, especially when you start training your body thinks you're asleep, which is kind of wild because your body functions almost like a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And it thinks that you're in the room sleep. And so now it's going to do the parent thing. And then you could be there kind of watching it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you watch it, you'll watch the chakras unpack literally and start basically like, they're like geometric cogs of kaleidoscopes that actually the kaleidoscope design is the thing that you're seeing and experiencing in the dream.
May I?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely. I may have over answered the question.
I got a little chill there because you kind of just went right in my head. So dreams, oh my gosh, I call them visions, whatever. Dr. Blair used to explain to me of it being like a pyramid. And when you're going through that space and you go out and when you're astral traveling, so to speak, and you go from the top and then you have to come back down to get into your body. And this recently happened to me actually a couple of times when you're traveling back down to enter your body in that spirit realm. Sometimes people get stuck in between. And just to piggyback off of that, I was in a space where I could see my body laying there, but it was just a quietness. So I was there and I had to do this thing that I won't mention here to make myself go back into my body.
Yes.
So I'm only mentioning that to say, so I'm sure maybe there are other people that have had this experience. Is there something you should or shouldn't be doing? Because when you're traveling, there are other places that you might visit other entities that are not so good. And then you may bring those entities back here, possibly. Is that correct as well? So can you talk about how do we control that so that we're not bringing the wrong things back, or how to actually, maneuver or travel back and forth seamlessly without issues?
Yeah, well, I let my guides handle that, and when I'm talking about guides, I'm saying my ancestors, my higher self. When it starts to get complicated,
Okay.
like especially with dealing with external forces or potentially external forces in other forms that may be trying to interfere, there's absolutely no way I could have gotten as far as I've gotten at this point, especially with some of the beings that I've had to deal with that being my personal responsibility, because everything has this checkpoint. Like even when we look at certain systems, like we've been really looking at the system of the nine, which is the Enneagram, also Enneology, and the entities from Kemet are also in a nine, Tef Newton. All of the pantheon that is there is nine, but they're not, if you want to say superior, they're not more superior than the four elements. So it's kind of like when the four elements come in, it's like that's what created the nine. So it's like the nine's power is kind of like irrelevant at that point.
Okay.
And then so too, the four has another power, like within the zero, that it has to say, zero's coming. Let me get out of here. And so there is this hierarchy, if you may, that exists within the order of magnitude. That's why our ancestors always talk about the order a lot. So I let the order handle, these kind of transactions and where I'm going and who's there and who I may be invited back and all that kind of stuff, because I don't believe that should be comprehended by the human being. Meaning that those kind of things shouldn't be set in the consciousness. Like we shouldn't have to worry about something that, since we created everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there is astral hygiene though, because I have a course specifically, and we talked a long time about astral hygiene, because I did notice, with all that, what I just said, that if you go in certain places, you're now going to experience what's really in that place. And there's kind of no way of really preventing that. So even going to sleep at certain people's house, I used to have to take what I called the dream kit, which was something that I literally needed to kind of configure my space that I was going to go to sleep. So when I did meld into what was there, because that's going to happen. It's just like I said with certain substances, they're like literally where you can use it and you'll see everything in the environment, and in about 10 minutes, it'll all shut off again. So when you have had those experiences, and again, I'm not saying that that's the only way. I learned to cross over through breathing. But then there's what I call the businessman's version. This means that I don't have time to take 1,000 breaths. I need to actually see what is in the space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go in the booth real quick like Superman. I'm going to come back out and I'm going to be on something. And
Mm-hmm.
y'all just need to sit down over there and don't look weird, because that's going to make me paranoid of who you are too. And I'm
Okay.
going to take a look. And then when you come out, your third eye will be open so you can see certain things, like things that have been done there, things that are still there, certain kind of energies. And you just notice that, especially certain places like the bathrooms and,
Mm.
you know, places where other people have been and you don't even know who those people are. There's a lot of stuff there. So
Yeah.
that's why your temple is really, you know, your great place. You know, per Ankh, it's like your best place is to really start fortifying just your house, and, you know, get the Palo Santos in, get the sage, do a corner to corner. Like, know that, you know, when you're moving through your house and you're moving energy out, because energy just needs to go into the place that it belongs to. There's no energies that are really what we would say is good or bad. There's energies that are out of place.
Mm.
And so if you can't put an energy in its place, then it could be out of place, and that's going to cause imbalance in the atmosphere. So when we come in and we do a corner to corner, that just means to get some Palo Santo and some sage, light that thing, and start walking around the house and hit the corners. Because with your intentions, which your field is huge, like the field is so large, I would, when another person is next to another person, especially a woman, it's very difficult not to be enveloped by their field because of how large the field is anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're coming in with intention, that intention's in your field, and you start moving through your house, it's like that big brush on the car wash. And
Mm-hmm.
then all you have to make sure you do is that you don't miss a corner, because I can guarantee you that's where they're all at. Even some people use a technique of just keeping spirits in one corner of their house. They don't even soak that corner. They'll run them all into that corner and they'll leave them all there. And this is a part of feng shui, actually, because it talks about how, especially as a powerful person, there's almost like a council that is always around you, of a spectrum of beings that you're constantly, through the maturity that you've learned, keeping them in check. They're almost like kids, but they're also like, they're in the tutelage learning from you.